Hey guys, welcome to Circles Day 7. Today we're going to talk about finding the area of a circle. You should have 3 pieces of notes in front of you. You should have one titled Day 7 Area, you should have a grid, and you should also have a circle printout that's divided up into wedges. Alright, let's get started by reviewing exactly what area is. Area is a measure of a figure by how many 1 by 1 unit squares can fit inside it. So you have in front of you a rectangle, and it measures 3 centimeters by 5 centimeters. So basically what that means is that this rectangle, and my measurements are centimeters in this case, but they aren't always, measures 3 units by 5 units. And so when we want to find the area, we multiply length times width. In this case, 5 times 3, and the area equals 15 centimeters squared. Now we always need to use a square unit when we're talking about area, because we didn't just measure a length or a width, we measured how many square units fit inside. Ooh, I'm not drawing these very well, but that's okay. You get the idea. But we're measuring how many square units fit inside an object or a shape. Okay, so knowing that, to find the area of a circle, we're gonna look at deriving the formula for that. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to draw a circle with a radius of 10 centimeters on that grid that you have. You're going to have to go a little outside the lines because the grid is not quite 10 by 10, but go ahead and pause the video and then come back. Okay, now that you've done that, I want you to divide your circle into quarters and then count, just kind of by estimating, the number of squares within 1 quarter of the circle, and then multiply it by 4. And let me show you what this looks like. This is actually in your textbook. Hi. So I'm on your textbook on page, what page is this? This is page 31. And so you've come up with a circle that looks somewhat like this, and you're going to section it off into quarters, and you're going to count how many squares are in 1 quarter, and then you're going to multiply it by 4. And you probably came up with, actually pause the video and then come back and check. Okay, well, hopefully you came up with about 79 squares. So your answer for the area of a quarter of that circle was about 79 centimeters squared. Now, if we want to estimate the area of the entire circle, we can multiply that by 4. So we would have 4 times 79, and we would come up with 316 centimeters squared. Now, we're going to go through the formula now for an area of the circle, or I'm going to teach you how we're going to find the formula, and we're going to see if we're close on our estimation there. So before we get to that, let's review the formulas for a circumference of a whole circle and the circumference of a half circle, because this is going to be really important in our formula for area. We're going to see how we're going to get to that. So our circumference of a whole circle is going to be pi times diameter, and remember our circumference of a half circle is going to be 1/2 pi times diameter, which also happens to equal pi times r, right? Because if I have 1/2 of a diameter, that's going to equal r. But this is the one that we've memorized, 1/2 pi times diameter. Okay, let me show you why that's relevant. You have in front of you a piece of paper that's got a circle drawn on it. Actually, it's kind of an oval, but that's okay. And it's divided up into wedges. So what you should do is you should pause the video, color the top half of the circle one color, color the bottom half of the circle another color, and then I want you to cut them out. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and then come back and I'll show you what you've ended up with. Okay, so hopefully you have a circle that looks kind of like this. You color the top half one color, you color the bottom half another color, and then I told you to cut them out. And so you're going to end up with a whole lot of wedges, right? And they're probably kind of annoying me by now. But what I want you to do is line them up so that they look like this. So basically what you're doing is you're making a rectangle out of those wedges. Now I want you to remember the formula for finding the area of a rectangle is length times width, right? So we have we have a width right here and we have a length right here. Well, check it out, you guys. My width is a radius, right? And my length would be really it would be the circumference of half the circle, because I can see that I just have the length of one half of my circle here. I've got all the yellows on one side. So we could figure out that the length of that circle is the same as the circumference of half of it. Okay, so that leads us to our formula. Our formula for the area of a circle is pi times radius times radius. So I get one of the radius from here, one of the radii from here, and the other one from my circumference formula for a half circle. So here's my circumference formula for a half circle. Okay, and then here's my other radius. So isn't that cool? The other way that we will refer to our area formula is pi r squared, right? Because r squared equals radius times radius. All right, so let's try a problem. So let's take a look at this circle. We've got a circle with a radius of 10 centimeters, and we want to find its area. So we're going to write the formula first. We always do. Pi times r times r. Now we're going to substitute in our values. Area equals 3.14 times 10 times 10. And now we'll find the answer. Area equals 314 centimeters squared. Okay, now thinking back to when we drew a circle on that piece of gridded paper with a radius of 10 centimeters, and we estimated how big the area of the circle was, we came up with 316, right? And that's super close to 314. So you can see that we're right. Of course, the area formula is a lot more exact, so I wouldn't encourage you to draw out circles and estimate by finding the area of a quarter of it. This is the way we'll do it. But we just proved it, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's try another example problem. The radius of this circle is 14 centimeters, and we want to find its area. So we'll write our formula again. Area equals pi times radius times radius. Substitute in our values. This time we're using 22 over 7. And I'm going to go ahead and write those 14s over 1 just to make it easy to see that I can now cross cancel here. And now I have 44 times 14, right? So you can do that math, but my area is going to equal 616 centimeters squared. All right, let's try one more, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and solve the rest on your notes and then come back and check your work. So on this circle, we have a circle with a radius of not 8, but 4. All right, so on this circle, the diameter is marked, right? It's 8 centimeters, and so we just know radius is half of diameter, so we can just take half of it and use that for our radius. So let's write our formula, and now let's fill in our values. So area equals 3.14 times 4 times 4, and then we'll solve, and area equals 50.24 centimeters squared. Okay, at this point, I'd like you to pause the video and work all of the rest of the problems, and then come back and check your answers. All right, let's go ahead, and I'm going to just scroll through these, and you're going to check your answers as I go. All right, well, hopefully if you got any wrong, you slowed down to check your math. I think the ones that trip people up are the ones where you're given a diameter and you have to remember that you need to take half of that for the radius. Also remember that radius times 2 does not equal radius times radius. So you can't just double the radius and call it good. You've got to actually multiply it by itself. All right, that's it for today. Hopefully you've got a good handle on area, and have a great afternoon.